surprising nor unprecedented. But today, it led to a massive uproar in both houses of the parliament. It's little surprise that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, while making a statement on deportation of the Indian migrants from the US in the Rajya Sabha, said that the centre will take exemplary actions against human traffickers. Now, over the past few years, the US government has intensified its immigration and customs enforcement ICE operations to identify, detain and even deport individuals without proper documentation. For instance, between June and October of 2024, last year itself, the Department of Homeland Security reported that over 1,60,000 individuals had been deported on 495 international repatriation flights to more than 145 countries. That also included India. So it's clearly not the first time such an exercise has taken place. However, the manner and timing should be cause for concern for New Delhi. To begin with, these deportations coincide with a major crackdown by ICE spurred by Donald Trump's swearing in as the US president in January this year. He has made illegal immigration his #1 priority. Not to forget, the use of an army aircraft signals the expansion of the crackdown under Trump administration, one that indicates that the US does not intend to be challenged on this policy. India, which has one of the largest populations of illegal immigrants in the US, estimated at 7,25,000 undocumented individuals, will need to prepare for a significant increase in the number of returning migrants. Also, stricter controls must be enforced to prevent Indians from embarking on perilous journeys to cross into the US via Mexico and Canada. The government must ensure that young people in states with high deportation rates, namely Gujarat, Punjab and even Haryana, understand that working illegally abroad is not a guaranteed path to success. Let me now present some data and facts for you. The deportation of 104 Indian nationals from the US has indeed sparked significant political fallout in India. This comes after the deportees were seen handcuffed and chained while on their way to India. Several opposition MPs today staged a protest in the parliament premises. They wore handcuffs to condemn the alleged inhuman treatment of Indian nationals sent back on a US military plane. The External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, has pushed back on the opposition's criticisms. Opposition MPs now argue that all Indians, regardless of their immigration status, deserve respect and humane treatment, which they claim was denied in this instance. On the other hand, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has clarified that handcuffing and other security measures are part of US policy for deporting illegal immigrants. Opposition has alleged that the deportees sent to India in inhumane conditions, as they claim that the deportees were allegedly subjected to handcuffs, even leg chains, and long hours with limited access to even basic amenities like toilets. While External Affairs Minister has emphasized that every country has a responsibility to accept deported nationals, especially those who have overstayed visas or entered illegally, opposition parties have raised the question of why the Indian government has not spoken out or taken action against the alleged mistreatment. On the other hand, the External Affairs Minister has countered oppositions and their charges, saying that government is working to ensure that no mistreatment occurs during the deportation process. The opposition has sharpened their attack by saying that the deporting individuals in this manner stigmatizes them as criminals, even though they may not have been involved in any serious crime. While External Affairs Minister has claimed that India is engaging with the United States authorities to address the treatment of deportees, ensuring that the deportations are carried out as fairly as possible, opposition has also added that the images of handcuffed individuals have raised alarm as they are worrisome. On the other hand, the government has also reiterated its stance on discouraging illegal migration, signalling that the issue is not just about individuals but also about enforcing laws and promoting that it should be promoted as far as legal migration is concerned. But remember, the Dunki route to the United States has been a long-standing, well-practiced method used by many individuals seeking to enter the US illegally. So what are these Dunki routes? They refer to the various complex and often dangerous pathways taken by illegal migrants from India and even other countries. Let's take you to the key Dunki routes to the United States along with the associated costs. First is via Canada, as you can see on your screen. The visa is acquired on fake university admissions. The visa is acquired on work permits as well. Immigrant stays at Canada's border for months on end, and then immigrants are sent across the border on foot over to the United States with an estimated cost of 80 lakh rupees. The second route is via Turkey. In fact, the UK visa is required, and on work permit, immigrants then enter Turkey with an e-visa, where immigrant lives in Turkey they in fact go ahead and spend 90 days over there. Immigrant then files they in fact go and flee to Central American countries. They stay in these Central American countries for a week to up to a year. And then the agent moves the immigrant to the United States, which is their final destination, with an estimated cost of 80 to 90 lakh rupees. And the third one is via Latin America, African countries as well. Immigrant first reach springboard countries, which includes Dubai, Malaysia or Indonesia on valid tourist visa. Immigrants then fly to African countries. They stay in Africa for a few months and they fly to Bolivia, Guyana, Ecuador and even Nicaragua. The immigrant takes a traverse and they in fact traverse harsh terrains to reach Mexico. Then they cross over to the United States on foot, through forest and even water routes, with an estimated cost of 70 to 75 lakh INR. The deportation of Indians from the United States has been a significant issue, with the number of deportations fluctuating over the years, as already been indicated by the figures that have been provided from the ICE annual report of 2024. So here's what the numbers were in 2019. 1,616, which in fact raised to 2,312 in 2020, an increase influenced by the pandemic-related travel restrictions and heightened enforcement. In 2021, we saw the number dip to 292. What caused this significant drop? It is likely a result of the pandemic restrictions that reduced flights and slower immigration processing. It again raised a little to 2022. In fact, it came to 276. The trend still remained low, with the ongoing pandemic still affecting the possibility of a shift in priorities under the new administration. Now, in 2023, another spike took place, and that stood at 370. There was a slight increase, indicating a return to normal deportation practices after the pandemic years. In 2024, 1,529 marked a sizable increase in deportations, possibly due to renewed efforts in cracking down on illegal immigration, as well as an overall rise in immigration enforcement. And so, the question that we are now opening to our guests as far as US deportation is concerned, is this going to now sour Indo-US ties, with so much pressure now building up within Indian domestic politics? We'll open that question to our guests in just a bit.
ऐसे क्या इंसानों के साथ बर्ताव किया जाता है कि उनको हथकड़ियाँ पहना के, बेड़ियाँ पहना के भेजा यहाँ पे?
क्या विदेश मंत्री को जवाब देना चाहिए? विदेश मंत्री
उनको जवाब देना चाहिए, प्रधानमंत्री जी को जवाब देना चाहिए।
वापस वो भेज रहे हैं। क्या मोदी जी वहाँ जाकर प्रेसिडेंट ट्रम्प से ये 18,000 लोगों के बारे में कोई सकारात्मक बात करना चाहते हैं?
The House will appreciate that our focus should be on crackdown. We are, of course, engaging the US government to ensure that the returning deportees are not mistreated in any manner.
उन्होंने ऐसा ट्रीट किया, हमें एक जंजीरें बांध के, जैसे हाथों में जंजीरें और पैरों में जंजीरें, लेडीज़ बच्चों जो 18 साल से हैं, 18 साल से ऊपर हैं, सबको जंजीरें बांध।
right, joining me on the show today is Ms. Radhika Khera, who is the spokesperson for the Bharatiya Janata Party, Nighat Abbas, who is the spokesperson for the Congress Party, Tara Kartha, who is a former director at the NSCS, and Mr. Shashikant, who is a former IPS. Many thanks to you, ladies, and Mr. Shashikant for joining in. Radhika, I'd like to take my first question. I think, how do you in fact respond to the criticism that's come in from the opposition, which is primarily with regards to the debasing manner in which these immigrants have been deported?
The deportation of illegal immigrants is not new, nor is it specific to Indians. The process has been happening since 2009, and India has never supported illegal migration. While having said that, every country has the right to secure its borders, but what concerns us is the treatment of deported Indians. And our External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, has clearly stated in Parliament today that India is in constant communication with the United States authorities to ensure that our people are not mistreated. Handcuffing and shackling of individuals is an American policy, but not an India-specific move, and we have made it clear to them that such treatments is unnecessary as well as humiliating, and we shall not accept this kind of treatment for our citizens. However, we have seen, we have even heard what Mr. Shashi Tharoor has said. His party has chosen to trivialize the entire issue instead of demanding fair treatment for Indians, the way they have been behaving and the kind of statements they are behaving. We don't believe that we should remain silent on this issue. We are taking it up with the concerned authorities. But you cannot say that you have to stop deportations, because I have the entire data of when people were deported during the UPA government, and there were thousands every year from 2009 to 2014. There was 800 in 1 year, 800, 900. Every year people were deported. So at the end, I would like to say that India is not going to compromise on the rights of our people, and the government is not just reacting, but we are also actively engaging with the US government to stop human trafficking networks, and we have to also see the people that are promoting this in the country and take action on those, because we have to even stop illegal migration to other countries. And why these people sometimes, logo ke behkawe mein aake, and sometimes these people who are sending them abroad give them different data and different sapne dikhate hain, and they send them. So that is an issue that we need to tackle over here. And rest assured, our citizens' rights and treating them humanly is of utmost importance to us. But the Congress party needs to, show some respect and handle things tactfully and in a way, and show that they stand with the country. Rahul Gandhi and his team needs to stop fighting against the Indian state.
No, and why does the Congress party, in fact, other opposition MPs, the likes of Sanjay Singh, in fact, have said that the External Affairs Minister sounded like the Foreign Minister from the United States. So perhaps it's not just the Congress which is going to be asked. But Nighat, I want to ask you, as far as the US restraint policy is concerned, it's been very much in place since 2012. In fact, the ICE had approved handcuffing and even leg irons way back in 2012. Why raise it now?
That's absolutely right, and which is why we say here that this time when 104 Indians have been deported, it was not just a normal deportation, it was also the shackling. They were treated like criminals. I mean, we need to see that they were transported in a military aircraft. The most important point is that it was the violation of the basic human rights, that they were in a 40-hour flight. They were not even given a sip of water, not even been allowed to go to the washrooms. And what I raise a question here is like, because when we talk about this, we need to also remember, because my friend just raised a question on UPA government, we need to bring that in the knowledge of the viewers today, that in 2013, we need to refer to the case of Devyani, when the UPA government took a very, very strong stand. Now, when I see at the Modi government, we need to see and we need to realize that the Modi government has been sitting. No protests have been held, and not at all not even a single diplomatic action has been taken by the Modi government. I mean, they keep posting about the Viksit Bharat and Make in India. Had it been the case that Viksit Bharat and Make in India were implemented properly and people were getting the jobs and the opportunities in our country, they didn't have to flee to another land illegally. Most importantly, we need to also realize in past 10 years, had it been the case that the unemployment rate did not hit the low of 3.2%, the people did not have to, the youth of the country, the youth of India did not have to be forced to fly to
you've raised a pertinent point, Nighat, you've raised a pertinent point, but I'll have to make that intervention because you're factually going wrong. Did you pay attention to what I was asking you, that the restraint policy has been in place since the year 2012? Then questions can also be raised in terms of what did the UPA regime do to address it with the Barack Obama administration back then?
Akanksha, which is why 2014, since 2014 we have Modi government in power.
Yeah,
That's exactly when we see Modi government's karyakartas, the Bharatiya Janata Party's karyakartas raising high their voices on the Trump's win. We need to understand that what kind of international policies do you give out to the youth of India, and what kind of the solutions you've been giving for this such problem, because it is not is not a one day problem.
I'm going to give Radhika a quick 30 seconds.
We have to know that what Modi government has done.
Radhika, I think the fact is that the opposition is also raising the underlying causes in terms of why is this illegal immigration happening, why are Indians fleeing the country abroad. I'd like you to come up with a quick rebuttal before I go to the other guests.
Yeah, the Congress party, its leaders and their spokespersons have to stop trivializing this issue. This is not about political friendships. It is about a legal issue that has existed over a decade, and it cannot be handled by merely protesting. That's not the way the Modi government or any government should be handling the issue of the inhuman behavior of a country by sending the way they are sending them out, not letting them go to the toilet, not giving them water. You don't protest in your own country for that. There are ways of handling it diplomatically, and we are in talks with the US government.
I am talking about a diplomatic reaction.
I did not interrupt, ma'am. Let me complete. I don't think you need to interrupt. I listened to you very calmly. Nighat ji, please, that's not the way. Please don't behave like Rahul Gandhi.
So you have to answer about a diplomatic action.
Nighat, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Nighat, I'm going to give you 30 seconds, please.
Action and not
it
just
is very sad that
Right.
Rahul Gandhi, whether it is in Parliament, they interrupt the Prime Minister, and when we are talking over here, their spokesperson interrupt.
I'm running short of time,
This
Radhika.
is not the way
Right. Point taken, Nighat. I'll give you time to let's calm down. Yes, please finish your point, Radhika.
Yeah, thanks. So, like I said, it's not just about political friendships. Things have to be handled diplomatically, and they are being handled at the level with the authorities. And we are raising strong concerns about the unnecessary humiliation of our citizens. But it is a US security policy to handcuff illegal immigrants before deportation. But why did they behave so? The kind of treatment that they gave, that is something that is of major concern to us. And friendships is a separate thing, but you do not handle these issues by protesting. I will repeat that. Maybe that was the UPA way of handling apne desh mein aake protest karo, but that is not how an international dispute is sorted out.
All right, Nighat, I'm going to come to you. Tarakatha, I want to quickly bring you in. Is it even fair to draw comparisons with the ill treatment that was meted out to Devyani Khobragade during the UPA regime? And of course, Dr. Manmohan Singh had taken it up. India had also issued various reprisals against US officials back then. But is it not a case of comparing apples and oranges when you are comparing the ill treatment meted out to a diplomat on one hand versus the case of illegal immigrants and their deportation?
You're absolutely 100% right. Devyani Khobragade's case was a violation of the Vienna Protocol. It was a violation of the bilateral agreements that exist internationally. So you had every right to protest. You had very strong grounds. Let's be very clear. These people, much as I feel terrible for these people, they are criminals from the US. According to our laws, our Immigration Act, they are criminals. So they are in a different category. Immigration Act doesn't allow you to just walk away from this country. You need proper papers. So having put that on a bracket, I want to raise one more thing. The shackling, any pilot, any aircraft, which is having a bunch of people, out of maybe 100 are fine people, but out of that, if one turns violent, then you have an air safety issue. You cannot do anything. So there is a need to keep them under some kind of restraint. You cannot fly out people like this. It's not easy. But having said that, if they were not given water, etc., that is inhuman, that is horrible, but this is the ugly reality.
And Tarakatha, who are we to check the United States, or can we? If you are going to refer to Vienna protocols, I'm also going to ask you, are we in a position to check the United States for using that military aircraft? Comparisons are also again being drawn with Colombia and how in fact Colombia declined to entertain that military aircraft. But look what they did. They slapped Colombia with 25% tariffs.
Yeah, see, there's no two ways about the fact that President Trump is sending it's his political message. Using military aircraft, sending them out, and the fact that the customs authorities tweeted this in public that Indians are being sent abroad. What is the necessity to do that? You're following your law, follow it, and why blare it across? This is not a good thing they've done. In the way they've done it is bad. But like we said, using military aircraft is 10 times more expensive than using a normal aircraft. So what he's sending a political message. What can you do?
Absolutely. Nikha Dabas, I did see you raising your hand to make a point. Would you like to make a point over there before I go to Mr. Shashikant?
Yes, of course. It is the economic hardship, the rising of the inflation, the unemployment, and the inadequate response of the government, which is why we see what is happening today. I mean, we need to understand the reality that why do people have to fly to another land to look for jobs and opportunities? They are being lured for the jobs and opportunities in a foreign land. That is the reason that this, completely justifies that India lacks the opportunities and jobs for the youth. I mean, we, just bringing back the old conversations by Radhika Khera would not help. We need to know that where are the 20 crore jobs? Had it been the case that they had offered proper jobs to the youth, people wouldn't have to flee.
All right, let's hear
what
Radhika has to say. Radhika, I think the issue of unemployment
now is that why have the people to travel abroad just because they're not getting the jobs, the opportunities, and those people are in debt.
But let's not forget that this can't be just an issue about unemployment. You could also have some criminals trying to flee from their criminal past. That is also one concern which is currently being addressed by the IB. I'm just adding to the information here. But Radhika Khera,
that is absolutely fine.
Radhika, please respond to that criticism that's now being, in fact, raked up by the opposition that, they're using this point to rake up or rather address the issue of unemployment that's been plaguing the Indian economy.
Congress, instead of raising real issues, is misleading comparisons and indulging in whataboutery, which was just exposed by Taraji. First, the Congress spokesperson goes and compares this issue with that of a former diplomat. I'm sorry, you cannot compare apples and oranges. Secondly, now if she's talking about the jobs, ma'am, please go through the data. I understand you're very new in the Congress party. I have worked in the Congress for 21 years. I have seen the UPA government, and there were innumerable illegal migrations and innumerable deportations. Do you know the status of the country? Why people were? This is the Congress 54-year misgovernance that the country is facing today. This is because of that there has been joblessness in the country. We are trying to sort that out, and India is developing and India is moving forward. It is a fact, but 54 years of misgovernance is what led to this entire Dunki route being created. It is in your tenure and under your governments that this entire thing and process started.
And since you've raised the issue of these Dunki routes, let me finally bring Mr. Shashikant. Thank you for so patiently awaiting your turn. I think your insights will shed more light on these Dunki routes. As somebody who's been the ex-DGP of Punjab, one of the states with the highest illegal immigrants, I think you'll be able to shed more light on how this mafia is in fact operating throughout the years of your career. What is it that you observed personally, especially when it comes to these rackets operating out of Punjab, and what are the state governments doing about it? And I don't just mean the Aam Aadmi Party government, but also the past Congress governments over there.
Yeah, this Dunki route and the illegal activities, the migrants have been there for decades now. Somebody was saying, rightly saying that Indians have been going abroad for last God knows, 40, 50, 60 years and getting settled there. That's why there are so many persons. Yes, the problem in Punjab is that somebody was saying, talking about unemployment. Yes, there are terrible. Unemployment is there. There are no ways. Then drugs, there's all sorts of things. And the worst thing is that what we have, a notion that we have the great American dream. Somehow or the other, these guys who are selling and these travel agents, etc., they have been selling this thing. They've been traveling it to the villages and telling that, if you want your future, the future is the United States. We have done this thing. We have sent so many persons. And these guys, you won't believe, in Punjab, about 1 acre of land, it costs about 30 to 40, 50 crores even. So they just extract the money from them and they send it through the Dunki route. I'm sure that you recall that how the guys who were going abroad, the boat was sunk. You know how this child from guys from Canada, from China, etc., they get themselves contained in a container along with goods and things, and they go there and inhuman conditions.
Right.
Yes. Second thing I want to make about.
And when you make that second point, Mr. Shashikant, also keep in mind, I want to ask you, since you said that this has been happening for decades, what has led to this inability of the state governments when such rackets have been operating for so long?
Well, everybody just had been sleeping because the travel agents, they pocket the money of police guys, politicians, and also all that so-called columns of democracy. They give money left, right, and center. No actions taken against them.
All right.
When I was in service, I had formulated this law also as far as these travel agents are concerned. Yeah, the law is there. The give 5,000 rupees and get an agency, etc., but nobody is bothered about it. And yes, talking about what has been happening in the United States, rest assured, in the United States, if you talk of human rights, I don't think human rights exist in the United States, whether you talk about Indians or any other foreign citizen or even Americans.
All right.
For no reason they took out the gun and they'll shoot and everything. You know, the guy who was killed and some cop had pressed somebody's neck and he just succumbed.
Absolutely, I'm sure. In fact, I'll have to now wrap up the discussion and I'd like to, in fact, end with the thoughts of what the Honorable External Affairs Minister had to say. He said that even international relations talk about global compliance, especially when it comes to the role of legal migration. Let it build people-to-people ties, and let's not encourage illegal migration by giving it respect. Many thanks to you, Mr. Shashikant, and the ladies for joining in on this discussion. Now, with that, in fact, we slip into a quick break, but coming up after this short break is the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam, which has now barred 18 employees from religious activities. Is the diktat being looked at in a positive light, or is there politicization over this entire issue? We'll be deep diving into that in just a bit.
MDH का किचन किंग.
Now on, women's sports will be only for women.
President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed an executive order to exclude transgender girls and women from participating in female school sports under his interpretation of Title IX. Reuters correspondent Dan Trotta explains.
Title IX is a law that prevents discrimination on the basis of sex in education. The Trump administration intends to use Title IX as a means to protect women in sports, that is, non-transgender women in sports, to protect them from having to compete against transgender athletes. That's where there could be a true change in policy if it holds up in court.
With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding.
Critics say Trump's directive stomps on the rights of a small minority of athletes, but Republicans say the directive restores fairness in sports and protects girls in schools.
So it's something of an open question, but the real issue, as the president of the NCAA said, is that there are less than 10 transgender athletes among the 500,000 participating in collegiate sports. At the high school level, it's impossible to say exactly, but the best estimates are that there are a couple of dozen.
The war on women's sports is over.
Trump's order also instructs the State Department to demand changes within the International Olympic Committee to prevent transgender athletes from competing.
Trump cannot dictate to the International Olympic Committee what its rules ought to be, and this is a matter that has undergone some serious review multiple times by the Olympic Committee.
The Trump administration has taken aim broadly at transgender rights since taking office on January 20th. While Trump supporters have hailed the president for making good on campaign promises, critics say Trump has overstepped his executive authority.
Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
for a lot of trans youth out there, it just means, once again, their country's declaring war on them. And this is going to affect people's mental health. I'll admit it's affected mine, and I'm 53 years old. I mean, but for young people coming up, especially for these kids, and especially in middle school and high school, this is very difficult. This is brutal on them. It's harsh on their families. And don't think that this is the end of it. This is part of a whole program to essentially erase transgender Americans from American life. And yes, just to note, transgender Americans are just that. We're Americans.
Today is another example, at the highest level in seat and position and power in the world, watching the new president of the United States articulate complete, utter nonsense and doing complete harm to the most vulnerable communities in his own society within the boundaries of the United States, which will have generational harm long term.
One win does not make domination. One kid winning one race at a national championship swim meet 3 years ago is not domination. But they're trying to say this fear because, let's face it, Donald Trump knows he's lying about transgender Americans. Riley Gaines knows she's lying about transgender athletes. The thing that they're banking on is that you, the average person out there, doesn't know they're lying. That's what they're banking on.
Female athletes have been forced onto the front lines, and men claiming to be girls have stolen more than 3,500 victories. That's a lot. And invaded more than 11,000 competitions designed for women.
First of all, the numbers they don't exist. Understand that there's 0.01% gender variant people living in our society as a whole. So it's a very tiny grouping of people that he's actually targeting. And certainly the numbers in terms of gender performance are filled with inaccuracies as well. Those numbers just don't exist. And it's incomprehensible of somebody in the highest seat in the world, the most powerful seat in the world, to project such misinformation, not just in the United States, but globally on such an issue that has a tremendous impact in the United States, but also worldwide.
We have to learn now. If we wait until the next edition of the games and it does not work, it's too late. So we have to work at the moment where overall we are enjoying this huge success.
And I think it's somebody like a Thomas Bach in the position as the leader of the IOC, and other governments, either it be Canada or other nations who have policies on human rights, that this is a time to stand up and to be able to say, we can do better. And we're not going to allow this type of language and this type of behavior to become a vacuum within our communities, let alone in the United States.
Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Akanksha Swaroop. Now, the Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam has taken a firm step towards implementing the decision made by its governing body, this on 18th of November last year. Prioritizing the sanctity of the Sri Venkateswara temple, the board has initiated its first action against 18 non-Hindu employees. These employees are now being transferred to non-religious government departments or offered voluntary retirement. This move aims to maintain the spiritual integrity of the temple's operations. As per the TTD board's resolution, these employees will be removed from their current roles as at the TTD temples and affiliated departments. They are also banned from taking part in any Hindu religious event or even duties. Meanwhile, the AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has questioned the Chandrababu Naidu government. He says that if only Hindus are allowed in Hindu temple, then why the TDP supported Waqf bill, which allows appointment of non-Muslims in the Waqf board. While YSRCP chief Jagan Mohan Reddy has broken his silence on the temple's decision, stating that he was unaware of the details of the issue as well. Now let's tell you what this entire controversy is all about. The overhaul of the Tirupati temple has ignited a political storm. The AIMIM chief Asaduddin Owaisi has criticized the Andhra government's recent move. They've argued that the changes, particularly the involvement of non-Hindus in temple affairs, would send a wrong message to the public, as the Waqf board is deeply sacred for Muslims as well. Now, in response to Owaisi's criticism, the Andhra Pradesh government has defended the decision to overhaul the TTD management, and they have emphasized that the temple's decision should be respected as part of the larger Hindu religious practice. Owaisi has further attacked the TDP for supporting the Waqf bill. The Waqf bill is a law that manages Muslim religious properties, and Owaisi has questioned why the TDP was backing it when the party was supposed to protect Hindu religious interests. The Andhra government in response has stated that it is prepared for a legal battle if necessary to defend the actions and policies that it has implemented at the temple. Owaisi further questioned why non-Muslims were being appointed to the Waqf board, which traditionally manages Muslim religious properties. The Andhra government has slammed the former YSRCP government as well, questioning the appointments of non-Hindus in key temple management roles. The claim is that such actions could create a perception of religious insensitivity or undue influence over Hindu religious practices by individuals who do not share the faith. So as far as the overhaul of the TTD is concerned, the Tirupati temple, the big overhaul, is it even a positive step, or is it just about to lead to more politics? That's a question we'll be opening to our guests today.
That is our stand of our government. There is no second thought about it. We stand by it and we will see this issue.
किस बुनियाद पर तेलुगु देशम चंद्रबाबू नायडू बीजेपी के लाए इस वक्फ बिल की तायीद कर रही है, सपोर्ट कर रही है? आप फिर वक्फ बिल में ये नॉन मुस्लिम कैसा बना रहे हैं? कैसा सपोर्ट कर टीडीपी?
TTD is not just limited to one temple here. It has got multi-organizations, multi-institutions. So we do not know where they are working.
Joining me on the discussion today is Pattabhiram, who is the national spokesperson for the TDP, Vinusha Reddy, who is a spokesperson for the Andhra BJP, and Rashid Sharif, who is the president of SIMPLB. Many thanks to you, in fact, for joining in. राशिद जी, अगर मैं आपसे शुरू करना चाहूँ तो पहला प्रश्न यही आता है कि क्या आप ओवैसी जी की इस समानता से अग्री करते हैं खुद कि वक्फ बिल का जो कंपैरिजन वो कर रहे हैं नॉन मुस्लिम्स उसका हिस्सा हैं, क्या उसको जो भी टीडीपी के चेंजेस हो रहे हैं अभी उसमें उससे कोई समानता आपको दिखती है? क्या उसको कंपेयर भी किया जा सकता है?
बिल्कुल मैडम, ये हम थे आज कि ये वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी जो मुसलमानों की प्रॉपर्टी है, उसमें हिंदू भाई का इन्वॉल्वमेंट बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है। जैसा तिरुपति में जैसा मंदिर की बात हो रही है, उसमें मुसलमान को भी आप नहीं रख सकते और ना मुसलमान उसमें जाना चाहता है। अगर ये चीज अगर आप वक्फ बोर्ड की, अब जैसा कि मैं चंद्रबाबू नायडू जी है, जब इलेक्शन था तो तकरीबन मुसलमान पूरे टीडीपी को सपोर्ट करे।
आज वक्फ बिल आ रहा है, वक्फ बोर्ड की बात हो रही है, तो चंद्रबाबू नायडू साहब को भी चाहिए था कि वक्फ प्रॉपर्टी के बारे में जो बात गवर्नमेंट चाह रही है, जो बिल लाना चाह रही, तो चंद्रबाबू नायडू साहब खिलाफ होना चाहिए था उसके। आज अगर मुसलमान है तो आपको सीएम बनाता है, आज अगर मैं, क्योंकि साउथ इंडियन मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड से पहली, क्योंकि जब ऑल इंडियन मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड चंद्रबाबू नायडू साहब के खिलाफ थी, जमीयतुल उलमा खिलाफ थी, मैं साउथ इंडियन मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ बोर्ड चंद्रबाबू नायडू साहब से मिलकर सपोर्ट करा और उनके बारे में बताया। तो पूरे हमारे आंध्रा के जितने भी उलमा है उनको बताया कि भाई इस वक्त चंद्रबाबू नायडू साहब को सपोर्ट करना जरूरी है ताकि उन्होंने हमारे को आगे सपोर्ट करे।
अगर हम सपोर्ट करके आपको सीएम बनाए, अगर आप वक्फ बिल के खिलाफ अगर जा रहे हैं तो ये बिल्कुल गलत है।
Alright.
और जो अवैध साफ हो रहे बिल्कुल सही है।
Alright, Patabi Ram, so that's the big statement coming in from Rashid Bhai. He's saying that this is a betrayal to the Muslims of Andhra. How do you respond?
Akanksha, good evening. See, first of all, I would like to clearly state that the NDA, whether it be the TDP, Janasena or BJP or any other partner in the NDA, have great respect towards all religions, have great respect towards Islam, have great respect towards our Muslim brothers and sisters. And the NDA government, whether it be at the state or at the center, will not do anything or will not initiate any action which would hurt the sentiments of our fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. See, you can't draw a parallel between the decision that was taken by the TTD and the Waqf board. See, TTD is a body which manages the temples, and whoever is working in the managing a temple should have strong faith and belief in Lord Venkateswara. So a person who does not believe in Lord Venkateswara cannot be in the service of the Lord. See, an employee in TTD is considered to be in the service of a Lord. It's not something, it is not a job which is like working in any other government department. It is actually a service of Lord Balaji. An employee is supposed to be in the service of the Lord. So that's even a normal pilgrim who wishes to have a darshan of Lord Balaji should sign a declaration stating that he believes in Lord Balaji. Then only he is allowed to enter into the temple.
All
so
right.
when we have those kind of things in place, so it is not correct for any person who does not believe in Lord Balaji to be working in TTD.
I want to quickly bring in Vinusha criticism also. All right.
I request
I'm also running short of
all
time.
my Muslim brothers not to draw a parallel between TTD and Waqf board.
All right.
We have great respect towards
All right.
Waqf
I'm
board
running
and
short
your
of time.
beliefs.
Vinusha, I want to quickly bring in your response to how do you tackle criticism which is saying that ever since this kind of alliance has happened, especially with parties like the BJP, there's first the issue of the laddus which is being raised, not that it happened for the first time there, but also now these changes being done as far as the transfer of these non-Hindu employees is concerned. Why didn't that happen soon after the amendment was made to the law in 2007?
Akanksha, thank you for having me on the debate. And first, I want to mention to the AMI PLB board person who is here that Asaduddin OIC proclaims himself to be a barrister, and he is comparing oranges with the apples. Waqf board is a board which manages the lands which are supposed to be belonging to Muslims, but then according to a modification in 2013, they have extended to anything non-Muslims. They started proclaiming the lands of cantonment buildings, Surat Municipal Corporation, recently 12,000 farmers in Karnataka, and I can go on at the list. So basically, Waqf is managing the lands of not only Muslims, non-Muslims, and every institution in this country. And second point, he can't compare it with Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam. Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam board, the main duty is to manage the spiritual, religious, and social activities of only one temple. That is the famous Balaji temple. So you can't draw the parallels between both of them. And second point, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanam has not been faced or encroached any lands or any properties of any other religion or Hindus. But Waqf board is now facing almost 45,000 petitions regarding encroachments or disputes. And third point, I want to ask this question. Please answer straight. The AMI PLB spokesperson here. Sir, will you allow Hindus to be on part of the board of Jama Masjid or Shahi Masjid or Azmi Dargah? Then why are you asking?
Rashid bhai, ये सवाल आपके लिए है. All right, taken your question, Vinusha. Let's quickly listen in. Let's give him time to respond to that. Rashid bhai, अपना जवाब दीजिए.
जी बोलिए मैडम.
विनुषा जी ये सवाल उठा रही हैं कि आप क्या जामा मस्जिद के बोर्ड में किसी हिंदू को देखना चाहेंगे?
बिल्कुल नहीं देखना चाहेंगे. बिल्कुल नहीं देखना चाहिए, क्योंकि अब मंदिर में मुसलमान नहीं गए. आप जैसा भी बता रहे थे कि भाई हम बिलीव नहीं करते तिरुपति जो
Away from that regular programming, we're just getting you the big number from easily the most anticipated pollster in the country, the most anticipated poll in the country. The Axis My India projections are out. Out of the 60 seats for which they've released the data so far, the BJP is on course to win 41. It's a massive edge to the BJP. After 27 years, the BJP seems all set to come back to power as per the Axis My India poll. And the reason why we're putting this out is because it is one of India's most closely watched pollsters who has taken a good 24 hours after the numbers came out. He's now giving a big lead to the BJP. 10 more seats to be declared. 41 out of 60 is what Axis My India is giving to the BJP. Remember, the BJP has been out of power in the national capital since 1998. So it's a 27-year jinx that they are breaking. 41 out of 60 seats have been declared so far. The vote percentage, 48% for the BJP, 42% for the Aam Aadmi Party. So the Aam Aadmi Party has had an 11 percentage fall in its vote share from last time around. The BJP has had a 3% increase. So significant difference that 42 and 48, a 6% gap in what seems to be essentially a two-horse race. So now BJP has crossed 50 and AAP is at 20. He's now given the leads for 69 seats, out of which BJP is getting 50 and the AAP is getting 20. That is the number that we have as far as the Axis My India projection is concerned. 50 to the BJP, 20 to the Aam Aadmi Party, 0 to the Congress. Can we have that as the big breaking? Because in the exit polls that we saw yesterday, I think one poll had given the BJP more than 50. I think it was 51 for one poll. But now Axis My India giving 50 out of 70 to the BJP and 20 to the Aam Aadmi Party. If we can get our reporters Aman Sharma and Pallavi Ghosh also on this, because this would be quite a seismic win for the BJP. It's not just a win, it's almost like a tsunami. It's almost a reversal of what we saw the last time around. The AAP had 62 and the BJP had just 8. But now Axis My India projections are 50 to the BJP and 20 to the Aam Aadmi Party. Let's go straight across to Pallavi Ghosh. Pallavi, if this is true, and this is at the end of the day an exit poll, it is not what the people have decided, that we will know on the 8th of February in a couple of days' time. But if this is true, and this is coming from one of India's most closely watched pollsters, Mr. Pradeep Gupta of Axis My India, if his projection is 50 to the BJP and 20 to the Aam Aadmi Party, what may that mean?
It means, of course, a completely clean sweep for the BJP of the 70 seats, Jaka. But if we just go by the past, whenever there has been this whole talk about whether the BJP is going to come back to power, whether it's been Haryana, whether it's been Maharashtra, the BJP has ended up actually sweeping. A very decisive mandate they've always ended up getting. So this time round, it's good to, it reflects and suggests a strong anti-incumbency against the Aam Aadmi Party, and that the BJP's aggressive campaign seems to have worked on the ground. If you go by these figures, and these figures stick, Zaka, it's very clear that at the end of the day, the corruption charges, the non-fulfillment of the promises, something which the BJP kept on whipping up, seems to have worked for the BJP and against AAP. But more than that, I think fringe players like the Congress or possibly AIMIM seem to have been dividing the votes as well. Look at Chandni Chowk figures, look at the other area figures, which clearly seem to be suggesting that even in those areas which are not traditionally BJP strongholds, the performance seems to have improved.
All right, Aman Sharma, our political editor, is also joining us. Aman, again, I want to underline this is an exit poll, and exit pollsters, including this one, have gone wrong in the past. But having said that, the fact that he's saying BJP will get 50 and Aam Aadmi Party 20, that is a massive win for the BJP if the Axis numbers hold on Saturday.
Well, absolutely, Zaka. This is a huge projection. Seat numbers, yes, 50-20, but look at the vote share change. BJP climbing from almost 38% to 48% vote share. That's what Axis is projecting. And AAP is falling from almost 52% to 42%. So a complete 10% vote swing is what Axis is projecting in the favor of the BJP. And that is explaining this huge turnaround from the last 2020 election. The projection, at least, that the BJP could win as many as 50 seats in Delhi. This is going to be a big, win if it happens like that. And Axis, has the win in its sail because it got Maharashtra bang on as well. So this is the big projection. Today's Chanakya is still awaited in a few minutes, but Axis giving this big numbers. And word in BJP has been, Zaka, over the last 2 weeks at least, that towards the second half of the campaign, the BJP really picked up pace. BJP feels that this is an election where everything has been going for it, right? From the corruption, corruption allegations against which was not there in 2020. BJP this time had full ammunition against the AAP on the issue of corruption, Sheesh Mahal, liquor scam, senior leaders of AAP going to jail. Then you had the reversal of the BJP stand on freebies in Delhi from calling them revdies in 2020 to now saying we'll continue all the freebies. This projection also shows that it's a pan-Delhi sweep. East Delhi, West Delhi, Chandni Chowk, even in Northeast Delhi, you are seeing BJP winning a big number of seats. That shows that the narrative of the BJP on the ground of poor civic infrastructure in Delhi maybe has been accepted by the voters. We all have been reporting in the past few days that the middle class would have consolidated behind the BJP, but I believe if these figures hold true on Saturday, not just the middle class, there's a big divide maybe even in the Jhuggi votes also, and the Jhuggi cluster voters also seem to have reposed in a big measure faith in the BJP.
So do we know the breakup as well? I think he's given it by, caste-wise, community-wise, the occupation of people. And one thing that really stood out for me was that the BJP is getting more women vote than the Aam Aadmi Party. The women were considered to be a sort of stranglehold vote bank for the Aam Aadmi Party. But now it seems like at least 2% more women have voted for the BJP. Again, would you attribute this to the 2,500 for women that the BJP had promised?
Yes, Zaka. See, though I think the AAP took an early lead with this 2,100 promise coming before the BJP's, and AAP also started registrations on the ground. But I think the BJP's record of delivering women's schemes, one, the BJP promises 400 rupees more than the AAP's promise. Second, BJP said, look, people also understand that BJP has been able to give money to women both in Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, other states where it promised that money, while the AAP failed to give it in Punjab. Punjab, the government has been in place for almost 3 years now. They promised 1,100 rupees to women. They could not give it to single woman so far. So I think the AAP was able, BJP was able to tell this to the women voters. Look, we are promising something. We'll be able to give it to you. The Aam Aadmi Party will not be able to give you that money. Even when the AAP announced that money, the cabinet passed 1,000 and Mr. Kejriwal said they'll give 2,100. So there has been a bit of confusion, I think, in the AAP camp over the women's scheme. If these projections hold true and women do indeed vote more for the BJP, it is also a big vote bank, a loyal vote bank of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, which we are very consciously nurtured over the years with free power, free water, free bus rides for women. It seems even the women seem to be reposing their faith in the BJP if these projections hold true on Saturday.
All right, Pallavi Ghosh is also joining us back. So Pradeep Gupta has now given a range for the Axis My India number. What we showed you earlier was the average, the midpoint of that range. So the range he's now giving is 45 at the lower end and 55 at the higher end for the BJP. So the BJP could go as high up as 55. For the Aam Aadmi Party, the lower end is 15 and the upper end is 25. And for the Congress, it's 0 to 1, and others, it's 0 to 1. Pallavi Ghosh, a lot of talk about, what the Congress will do. Will it eat into Aam Aadmi Party votes? Will it open its account? Will its vote share double? None of that seems to have come to pass. It seems like a straight fight, this, between the BJP and the Aam Aadmi Party. And in that straight fight, the BJP seems to have had the upper hand.
Zaka, that's precisely the point which Aam Aadmi Party would make, that it is a bipolar fight in Delhi. What does it need for the Congress Party to get aggressive on the ground? Because it's only going to end up helping the BJP and going to work against AAP. And I think the TMC and the SP's decision to campaign for AAP was actually engineered by this kind of a calculation and thought. Now, for the Congress Party, if it gets even one seat, I would see this as bettering its performance, considering that they have 0 MPs and 0 MLAs. But what would be critical also to see is that even if they get 0 seats, whether their vote percentage has increased. Today, the Congress Party is even less than 5% vote percentage. If it crosses that or it goes in double digit, which I think would be sounding very ambitious, for the Congress Party, it would mean a little bit of a revival in the national capital. But all along, it was felt that if the Congress gets aggressive on the ground, it's only going to end up helping the BJP as it divides the anti-BJP votes.
Okay, so it divides the anti-BJP votes. I'm not sure we know exactly, in how many constituencies or what role, if at all, as they say in this part of the world, the Congress has become a vote katwa. But at least in terms of vote share, the Congress doesn't seem to have improved much. It had about 4.5% last time around. At least Axis My India's number seems to be 7%. So about a 2 or 3% gap. But if you were to genuinely cut the votes in a way that the Aam Aadmi Party's vote share has fallen from 53% to 42%, that's an 11% fall. So clearly, there's a lot more of the AAP vote that's been cut by the BJP as opposed to by the Congress. So are we now looking at, if Aman is still there with us, Aman, this gap that he has given between 45 and 55 for the BJP, so the BJP could go as far high up as 55, and the Aam Aadmi Party as low as 15 to 25 is the range he's given. How may that change the sort of dynamics and the politics of the national capital, which for the last 25 years, as the Prime Minister said in one of his campaigns, for 15 years it was Congress, and for the last 11 it's been Aam Aadmi Party. So it's like almost like a comeback from Vanvas for the BJP if these numbers hold.
Absolutely, Zaka. If the BJP is winning like this in Delhi with 50 plus seats, this will be a big reaffirmation of brand Modi. After the win in Haryana and after the win in Maharashtra, BJP will be winning Delhi, which many thought was impossible for BJP to win because there's been a 27-year-long drought. The BJP has not been able to give a leader in Delhi, no CM face. This was always the BJP just lost the MCD elections, just very recently. So this is something that BJP was up against. But as I was saying earlier, that this will be a big reaffirmation of brand Modi. This will be a body blow to the Aam Aadmi Party because, AAP may be in power in Punjab, but Delhi is the real fortress. This is where brand Kejriwal has been the strongest. He came to power here on the image of anti-corruption and leading a corruption-free government, promising people that he will give these turn Delhi into a free electricity, free water regime, bring all these benefits to people. This means that the freebie model of AAP is also suffering a big jolt. People are saying, and we saw this during the campaign, when we were traveling across Delhi, people were saying that freebies we've had enough. Improve the state of Delhi, improve the roads, improve the drinking water supply quality, improve the buses. That is what people, improve the air pollution. Just look at the state of the Yamuna. This is the national capital, and the Prime Minister has been saying this in the campaign, that the national capital is unrecognizable from the rest of the country because the state of the infrastructure is so poor. So give BJP a chance, a double engine. Many people were of this opinion that okay, let's give BJP a chance. Let's see what they can do to Delhi. So if the AAP projections hold true, I think that anger of the people, that frustration of the people, that AAP always keeps fighting with the center, blaming the center, maybe that narrative of the BJP has taken ground amongst the people.
Also, one other thing, if we go into the breakup, and if Pallavi is still there with us, so in some of the JJ clusters, the slum clusters, we're seeing a split in the AAP's vote, certainly not as much as what they got last time around. We're also seeing a split in some of the Muslim-dominant constituencies, whether it's in the northeastern part of Delhi or whether it is in the outskirts of Delhi, what's called the beyond the ring road parts of Delhi. We are seeing split in certain dedicated pockets or dedicated vote banks of the Aam Aadmi Party, whether it is, like I said, the slum cluster voters or whether it is the Muslim voters. Is that just that they are upset with the lack of governance or upset that it's been 10 plus years of anti-incumbency against Kejriwal? And has the BJP been the beneficiary of that because that vote has been taken away by the Congress? Or is it that it was a straight fight, Pallavi, between AAP and BJP? And this whole, certainly for the last 5-7 years, this whole bickering that was going on between the state government and the central government, virtually every other week there was a court case between the state and the center. People were just sick and tired and said, okay, let's just give it to one party and see if the lot of Delhi will get better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because that's the feedback I would often get when I'm on the ground. See, this whole sense of helplessness and blaming the central government that, I wanted to do this, but I couldn't do it because the BJP stopped me. It works to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, I think every citizen and every voter wants a kind of a Rambo CM or a Rambo leader. They want someone who sounds in control. I mean, that is what has worked. If I can take the example of my home state of Bengal, the projection of Mamata Banerjee as someone who can deliver and fight the system. So the Arvind Kejriwal is always crying foul and playing the victim card. I think at some point of time when I started speaking to people, they said, what's the point? If he's so helpless, if he's not going to be able to deliver, so let's give it to someone who can deliver. And in this case, the BJP's double engine ki sarkar arguments seem to have worked. The second, you're asking me of the minority stronghold areas, two things which may have worked against AAP. One is the entry of the AIMIM, and very, very aggressive campaign, and also the Congress's strategic choice of candidates. For example, Arif Mohammad Khan's niece, Ariba Khan, Dhaka against Amanatullah Khan. There were instances where we saw that on one side of the road there were party workers of the Congress, on the other side of the AIMIM, and very often the AAP party workers were actually missing in action. This division of the minority vote seemed to have worked against the AAP. And finally, Zaka, like every one of us, I mean, this is wrong notion to think that the minority voters will only want to go along religious lines. In Uttar Pradesh, in many pockets, we saw that there were people belonging to minority communities, particularly the women. They actually ended up voting for the BJP because they also as much want development as just about everybody wants. So the BJP promise of money into the accounts and development.
Okay, Pallavi, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have the man of the moment, Chairman and Managing Director of Axis My India, Pradeep Gupta ji. Bahut dhanyawad. Thank you for speaking with us. First things first, big number, 45 to 55 for the BJP. What did you see on the ground? How has this election changed so much in favor of BJP?
So, first and foremost, the change in positioning of Aam Aadmi Party and that to Arvind Kejriwal, what they have been projecting 5 to 10 years back and what they have been seen today, that's the first thing. Second thing is that the people have favored particularly women. In our poll, women for Aam Aadmi Party 44 versus BJP's 46%, only 2 percentage points gap between two parties. But among the male, the gap widened to the 10 percentage point, 40 to 50 for the BJP. Second, the kind of promises made by BJP this time, particularly two very important things, apart from the facilities in case of water bill, electricity bill, free bus ride for the women, and health and education facilities. They said that it will continue if BJP come to the power. Also, they promised 2,500 rupees for the women, and that too they declared the date also. It will be done before or on or before March 8, which is the Women's Day. Also, on the other side, Kejriwal also has promised and get the form filled and issued the card for 2,100 rupees per month for the women. But when people used to ask what happened to your promise when you did so before the Punjab election in 2022, they've been giving very casual answer. They call it very asamvedansheel, saying that we have been elected for 5 years. Abhi to 3 saal hue, aaram se kar denge, itni jaldi kya hai? On the other hand, on the contrary, people saw that particularly PM Modi is saying and committing the date also. So people have believed largely in favor of BJP than the Aam Aadmi Party. These are the 3-4 basic points. Coming to the anti-incumbency, which was the mix. There were negative in terms of garbage collection, condition of the road, and kind of quality of drinking water. These are the 3 things which touch across the board, across the demography from top to bottom, which impacted and harmed the prospect of Aam Aadmi Party and that to Kejriwal.
Pradeep ji, for a long time it was said that this is going to be a triangular fight. Congress will take away Aam Aadmi Party votes or whatever. Did you see that, or was this a straight 2-horse race between AAP versus BJP?
So basically, it is a straightforward race in that sense. The Congress is likely to secure 7 percentage votes, but in some pockets, particularly that 0-1 for the Congress is coming from the Badli seat where they are in fight. Congress has dented some prospect in 4 to 5 seats for Aam Aadmi, namely in case of Jangpura, namely in case of Okhla, namely in case of Badli, as I mentioned, and 3 to 4 more seats where Congress is doing good but not enough to win the seats.
Also, very quickly, I know seat-wise you may not want to reveal, but people are interested in knowing Mr. Kejriwal's seat, Atishi's seat, and Mr. Sisodia's seat.
So one by one, I try to say that, and also with a big disclaimer that we never ever do seat by seat because people take it personally. You know, ultimately it is 0.2% based on 0.2% sample size, 200 to 300 sample size. We are saying whatever we are saying. Sometimes it hold good, sometimes it may not be. So what we reveal is the most popular party in that particular assembly constituency on the exit poll day, which is today for us. As far as New Delhi goes, BJP was the most popular party on today.
Okay.
As far as RTC's Kalkaji seat goes, where both the parties popular, but Aam Aadmi Party is having little edge over BJP.
Okay.
As far as the Jangpura goes, where BJP has the little edge over the Aam Aadmi Party, and as far as Greater Kailash goes, Aam Aadmi Party has a little edge, not fully secured in case of Greater Kailash, where the Saurabh Bhardwaj is contesting. Babarpur seat is fine and secured for Aam Aadmi Party, where Gopal Rai is contesting.
Wow, you haven't said it in as many words, but if you're saying that in New Delhi, BJP is more popular, and in Jangpura, again, it's neck and neck, BJP slightly ahead. And if that happens on Saturday, that itself will be a huge headline. Pradeep Gupta, many, many thanks for joining us here on CNN News 18 with your Axis Mind, your projections. The projections for Delhi, like I said, from the most anticipated pollster in the country, 45 to 55 for the BJP, 15 to 25 for the Aam Aadmi Party, 0 to 1 for the Congress, and 0 to 1 for the others. Now it's time for The Right Stand with Kritsween.
Very good evening. You're watching The Right Stand with me, Kritsween Walia. Viewers, keeping in line with his promise to send back illegal immigrants, President Donald Trump's administration flew 104 Indian illegals in a C-17 military aircraft. The aircraft made a landing in Amritsar last evening, but what took internet by storm and was shortly after used by several opposition leaders in taking on the central government were pictures of the deportees' hands and legs being shackled throughout their journey on board this American military plane. Many of these deportees also shared their ordeal by recalling the difficulties they had been put through the last few months of their journey abroad and during the Dunki route, which is, remember, an illegal immigration pathway used by their travel agents to take them to the United States eventually. But that's one aspect of the story, viewers. The other aspect was raked by the opposition MPs both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha earlier today. From questioning the friendly ties with US to seeking answers on the inhumane treatment meted out to the illegals deported to India, the opposition went all guns blazing, and this, viewers, prompted a sharp response from the External Affairs Minister. Mr. S. Jaishankar put a few facts on the table and said it was the obligation of the government to take back its citizens apprehended abroad for staying illegally, as he also emphasized on the need to encourage legal immigration. In fact, while addressing the upper house of the parliament, the External Affairs Minister confirmed that deportees were cuffed throughout the journey but mentioned that women and children were not restrained. Basically, while reacting to the handcuff controversy, the minister said that the standard operating procedure for deportation by aircraft provides for the use of restraints. He further said that the process of deportation was not a new one and has been there for several years. However, the External Affairs Minister added that he would engage with US authorities to ensure that the deportees are not mistreated on their way back home. In fact, much before addressing both the houses, the External Affairs Minister also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But there's a lot of politics that is taking place, a lot of back and forth that we've seen essentially over the same. While the Prime Minister did not speak about it when he addressed Rajya Sabha, the External Affairs Minister answered all of those concerns which were raised by members of parliament through the day, not to forget the symbolic protest that was staged by them, and yet we see opposition continue to raise several of these concerns. So where do the facts really lie, and what really is the politics all about, keeping in mind the larger Indo-US relationship, especially when it comes to Trump's announcement on the tough immigration policy? We'll talk about all of that, but first up, the sharp response that came in from External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar.
So the process of